What's up, guys and gals? It's time for the latest chapter review for Record of Ragnarok, also known as Shuumatsu no Valkyrie, chapter 104. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This chapter had the, standard number of pages, but nothing really happened. I'm not going to lie. Literally, it was only in the last, it's just going through we must step back a few moments in time to explain exactly how all this went down. And it takes its sweet-ass time with it. I'm not saying that the pacing is bad necessarily, but it is slow for this chapter. It is definitely slow. They take their sweet time with this one. I don't know why, because I really do think that this is meant to be one of the shorter fights. And as a result, they're trying to, draw out each step of the process so it doesn't feel like this late in the game, this round only lasted 3 to 4 chapters. They're going to try to drag it out to make sure it lasts 7 to 8 while having chapters like this. At least that's my opinion, right? So, because we started off, we see that all the clones are gone, and obviously it's Loki himself is a clone. That's the big thing here. It's so Loki was, right between the eyes, and boom, Loki's down for the count. And everyone's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But the match obviously isn't over. And we know that Loki is behind the tree. And he actually sees Simon in his sights and stuff like that. However, he's hesitating. He's hesitating for the sole purpose that we're bringing up even more abilities that, of course, Loki and the Ring have. And it's Jesus Christ, this thing has more abilities than Mjolnir in Marvel Comics, But let's just go over it. So his initial idea, and that's why the title of the chapter is Miscalculation and Resolve, is that he thought, okay, once this happens, he'll just go for the kill. But he miscalculated in the sense of the Loki corpse might not have been the real Loki. And he did this at the beginning of the match and stuff, and they explain all that. He created a perfect copy. And it is explained, and he gave his ring, his powerhouse ring, he gave that to the copy. However, the fact of the matter is that though he was hiding, until he could worm his way to wherever Simon was firing from, he made a critical mistake in the fact that he did not expect the clone to fail and to be killed in one shot. When he put up the wall of this and that and the other thing and stuff, and it spiraled right through and still went right through him and stuff like that. He didn't expect the one-shot kill. So now, unfortunately, Loki is hesitating because that's his miscalculation. Because even though it was only his fate that died, the first power is that the ability to create a single copy with power equal to his own. Meaning, let's just say, for example, and I'm pretty sure this is straightforward here, but, for everyone involved. But the thing is that had that actually been Loki, that would have worked and Loki's done. Loki did not expect that because this copy is every bit as powerful as him, plus the ring. He's every bit as strong as him. He's every bit fortitude, everything. So if this bullet can kill his copy, who is a 100% perfect copy, then one shot and he's done too. So it's whoa, wait a minute. And he did not expect that. The second ability, which is how he was able to manifest himself and figure out exactly where Simon was so quickly, was the ability to share the consciousness and perspective of any and all the copies he created. Now, he copied, of course, he made the copies of Thor and Heracles and Odin and stuff, but the rabbit as well and stuff like that. So he was able to see pretty much everything. And the third and final one was the ability to use any of those copies as a gate to basically instant transmission and teleport to. He was able to materialize himself from that, called the Gate of Resurrection. Now, I'm okay with these abilities, because though it's okay, Loki seems to have a fair amount of abilities, but he's also considered the trickster, so that doesn't bother me. But once again, and the fact that we're being introduced to these would normally feel like plot armor, but once again, he's the Joker, he's the trickster, so I'm good with what they're trying to do here. This would bother me if it was a straight-on warrior versus warrior fight, and it was But however, you thought I did this, but actually the shield the entire time had this ability. Then it's a little like, really? Really? Like, when we got that big, long explanation 2 chapters ago, you couldn't have mentioned that? You know what I mean? It's almost like sometimes when they do these rounds, and it's not just regular Ragnarok that does this, other fighting and tournament manga, or just tournaments in manga in general, they almost, the narrator, for some reason, is almost only giving us information that the opponent can possibly deduce. You know what I mean? It's very weird. They will not tell you until it's relevant to explain what's going on. The narrator will never give you extra information. I always thought that was weird, but it is what it is, right? Maybe it's just a good, quote-unquote, good storytelling, or pacing-wise, a good storytelling technique. Either way, he was, so with all these abilities and stuff, he managed to, okay, he's safe, he managed to actually get behind Simon, and he's right there, he can see him and stuff like that. However, you know, his abilities are far beyond his expectations. He didn't expect that huge army, and that one bullet to do all that damage and kill a copy of himself. And he even says, like, this is what Brunhilde brought. Brunhilde chose the warrior who would be able to kill me in one shot, and she knew it and stuff like that. If my clone was enough to take him out, then any shot fired at me will likely be the end. So I have to do it myself. There's no choice and stuff like that. Simon seems very calm and collected, and he decides that he's going to use the copies. You know, the copy is fading fast and stuff like that. I have to strike, you know, really soon, and I do need to get, you know, my ring back and things like that. And without the ring, he can only summon 4 copies at a time, of course. And without the ring, he literally cannot materialize back to the ring. So he's kind of, he played his hand with the idea of using it as a bluff, but now it's now limiting him because of the miscalculation. So kind of a bit of a chess match sort of thing going on here, because it's do or die. I like it. It's sort of reminding me of the sniper wolf fight in Metal Gear Solid, or similar fights like that, where it's like, okay, one mistake and you're done. But if you know how to do it, and if you play it and stuff like that, it's really strategic, stuff like that. Reminds me of Fire Emblem. Reminds me of all those games where it's like, okay, one miscalculation and you're done. But it's still very possible, if you stop and think, to win the game, you know? So he's thinking about it, and he's apparently got, like, he's just like, all right, what do I do? And I took this panel here, this page or panel, that he's got 4 other copies hiding behind trees in different locations. Like, he says, think times 4. It makes me believe that he's got multiple, like, he's made 3 other copies, so now he's got 4 total, and that's why think 4 times, is that there are multiple Lokis ready to strike behind trees. I'm not sure if that's the case. There's 2 possibilities. 1, it's that, or 2, it just so happens that he thought it 4 times. To me, it's just incredibly coincidental. At first, I would take it as he's just like, think, eureka, you know what I mean? And it's the same Loki, just at multiple different panels. Think, saying the same thing. I would say that that's 100%, and that's what I'm going to go with, but there was a part of me that thought coincidental that he can only make 4 copies, and now he's thinking 4, and they're showing 4 Lokis in one shot. You know, it was just on my mind. And then he finally decides, you know what? This is where I'm going to gamble my life and stuff like that. He's cornered, he's pushed to his absolute limits, and he's going to set up a trap. And forward comes Heracles, out of nowhere, blinded by rage, and here comes the copy of Heracles, which once again, very disrespectful. Loki sucks for this. Heracles rushes forth. This is where Loki must be still alive. Heimdall confirms it and stuff like that. What does this mean? So Simon turns his rifle, sacrifices his spleen, and boom, fires the shot in only half a second, and the Godspeed bullet goes right through Heracles. through basically the backside of his shoulder, right through his chest and body cavity, and out the other side. Boom, he's down. It pierced the heart. Sniping against the gods, it worked. Now, this is where Heracles goes down, but that's where out of the ground comes Loki and Thor. So this is where I'm of the opinion, once again, that this is and this only ends up being technically 3 copies, or 3 plus the original, or 2 plus the original, so there's still the potential for 1 more out there, but Thor and Loki come out of the ground and they're ready, against the unguarded back. As he turned to fire, these two come and they appear. Now, funnily enough, appear with an E on the end, I don't think that, I think that's just a mistranslation or something like that, but that's the translation I have. They appear, but I wonder if appear in some spellings has an E on the end. I don't know. Possible. Maybe old English, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, it was funny, though. I noticed it, and that's where it's like, so, Lord Loki must be alive, and all this fun jazz, and, the crowd's going wild and stuff like that. They're rushing, but the real Loki is inside of the dead Heracles. The one to kill you will be me. Now, while we assume that this is the real Loki is inside the dead body of Heracles waiting for his opportunity to do sneak attack, but he looks really bad. He's like grinning and stuff like that, but he is sweating profusely because he's in this dead body. I'm curious as to whether, due to the fact that it was him, that's actually Loki, and it did pierce his heart. How is he alive? So I'm assuming that regardless, this Heracles wasn't a clone. This Heracles, the Loki and the Thor that are attacking are clones, but this one, it was the actual Loki under disguise, and he took the shot to the heart, and the only way I can see this is that he still took major damage from that shot, because it still hit Loki in Loki's body. I hope that they have a better explanation than what I'm going to think, because that's the end of the chapter. But what I'm thinking is that the reason he's and he said, I'm gonna gamble my life to win this thing. He's gonna put his life on the line. Is that, it pierced Heracles' heart. Loki is shorter in stature, so it missed Loki's heart, because Loki is inside of a vessel that's not the same size as him. You know what I mean? When he shapeshifted, the heart is up here, whereas normally, in Loki's body, it's further down, sort of idea. So it beat Heracles, but technically that wasn't the real heart. I'm really hoping they don't do that, because I'm going to kind of call bullshit, because then by that logic, you would have hit Loki in the head, I would argue. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. So I'm hoping they come up with a better explanation than that. I'm hoping I'm wrong, because I really don't like that, because that's really kind of stupid. You know what I mean? That's really kind of stupid. But anyways, I do think Loki took massive damage from that bullet. I think that's his actual body, and he took real damage from it. That's what he meant by gambling his life. But I'm hoping it's not because, at the last second I changed and stuff, because we didn't see that. He's only starting to manifest now. I hope there's another explanation to it, or something like that, because, and I hope it's a good one. I can't think of a good one right now. I'm just hoping it's not the one that I just came up with, because that explanation works, but it doesn't mean it's good. Do you know what I mean? So anyways, that's chapter 104. As I said, kind of a slower paced chapter, because it's basically Loki going, okay, what am I going to do? And then by the end of the chapter, he makes his move. So 3/4 of the chapter is just him going, well, here's how we got to this situation, which we already know. And then it was, all right, I've got one shot at this. And due to the fact that I underestimated my opponent, my original plan is out the window. So now I got to come up with something better. And this is his gamble. Let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens, right? So that's basically it. Kind of a short review for Record of Ragnarok, but honestly, like, I think I covered everything, you know what I mean? So, yeah, like, comment, and subscribe as always, and we'll see you guys back here next time for Chapter 105 of Shuumatsu no Valkyrie. The fight's still pretty good. I just think they're sort of dragging this out a little bit longer and letting things breathe. I was going to say bleed, but breathe a little bit longer because this fight is going to end. I'm going to say 2 more chapters, fight's over. Officially fight's over by chapter 106. Because it's a sniper fight. 1 bullet is going to end the match, you know what I mean? And I would argue that where this is sacrificial bullets, 1 stab by Loki will end the match. So it's more of a whoever gets the first real hit in is going to win. So they can't stretch that out for another 4 chapters, in my opinion. If they might, but I don't know if it'll be very good if they do. So, yeah, I think we're already past the midway section of this chapter and stuff, unless they give us more backstory stuff to stretch it out even further. But I think we know everything we need to know about Loki, and I think we know everything we need to know about Simon. So, I think it's now going to be all present time and do or die. So, what do you guys think? As I said, like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you thought down in the comment section down below. We'll see you guys back here next time for Chapter 105 of Shuumatsu no Valkyrie. Looking forward to it. Hope you guys are too. See ya.